Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and today we're going to talk about the things that I think you need if you have the RODECaster from Rode. Now, the RODECaster is a professional mixing studio for podcasting. Of course, I've been using it in a lot of different ways, and I did a video about that. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to link to it below, or you can click on the card above so you can check out that video. I talk about how I use it for podcasting, but I also use it when I record my videos and do a bunch of other stuff in the studio related to that. I'm not in the studio today, but I am here to talk about the things that I would use when I need to take the RODECaster with me, which is quite often. I mean, the reason you would buy the RODECaster is because you would want to take your podcasting solution with you. Maybe you're doing a live show, maybe you are going and interviewing somebody on location. So there are some things that you're going to need. So the first things that I think are pretty important, obviously, are the case. And so I have this case from SKB Cases. It's a waterproof case. They make a case that is form-fitting for the RODECaster already, which is why I wanted to check this out. In the past, I've got cases with, just a bunch of foam inside, and you kind of have to carve your own way, or maybe just make your own sort of padding. But this case has it all set up so that you can carry everything right in there. So let's go ahead and open up this case and just take a look at what's inside. So we have our RODECaster right here, nice and prominent, because it makes it very easy for you just once you're set up. I mean, you can kind of leave it in here and just prop it up like this when you're actually recording and run your cables out the back. So it's a nice case because of the way it's set up. But when you get inside the case, you also have another thing that I think is pretty important, because the case has cutouts for them, is the PODMICs. Now, the PODMICs I found are absolutely fantastic microphones for podcasting. Yes, there's a lot of other microphones out there, but these microphones are super compact. They have a built-in stand. Everything about them is just really nice. And so this is one of the items that I think that you absolutely need to have. There's also room for cables in here. We've got the microphone cables here. I've got the power adapters back here in the back. And then, of course, there's this nice little cushion that you just put in here so it holds your PODMICs in place. So in podcasting, I think good mics are very important. If you're going to be moving around and kind of traveling as you go and do interviews or do any live shows, having compact microphones that are really good, I think, are pretty important. And these PODMICs, I'm going to do a full review of them later. I haven't done that yet. I did mention in my RODECaster video that I wanted to do a review of these mics, but I haven't done that yet. So if you're interested in that, make sure to let me know down in the comment section. But the PODMICs are absolutely fantastic. One thing that the case doesn't really have room for is mic stands. You're going to need some sort of a mic stand. These ones are compact and they actually break down. These are from Rode as well, but there are a lot of different companies that make this particular type of mic stand. So they break down really flat. You could actually put the posts in the case here. There's room for those. There just isn't room for this piece. If I was to tuck it in here, it sticks up just a little too high. There just isn't any room for it in the case. But I could slide these inside of my luggage or something like that. Very easy to conceal the base of the stands. And I have a couple of them, so it's very easy just to detach the stand and then put that in the case. And then, of course, you just have to put the base somewhere else. And they actually even stack pretty nice. So PODMICs and mic stands. The carrying case is a must as well. But one of the other important things that you don't want to forget is a good set of monitoring headphones for yourself. Now, when I do an interview with somebody, I ask them if they have a nice set of headphones that they want to use, they can bring them, or I will provide them with headphones. But I always carry my own headphones. These AUDIO-TECHNICAs, these are the ATH M50Xs. I've had these for years, and they still just sound great. They break down and kind of fold up into a small package, depending on how you're looking to store them. I'll put them in my bag if I have just a slim area. I'll slide them into my bag like that. If I need a little bit more of like a compact storage, I could fold them down. They're just very good headphones, and they're very easy to kind of store when you need to move, when you need to go from place to place. And they're super comfortable over-the-ear headphones with good audio quality. They also come with a variety of cables. This cable here is like the standard plug into your iPhone, like 3.5 millimeter or something like that. But it also comes with another cable that's an adapter that has the larger size. Of course, on the RODECaster, the main mix out for you to monitor is just a regular headphone jack. And of course, I could even put this cable in here. But if you were going to plug into the back, you're definitely going to need some adapters to go from that 1/4 inch to that 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch, depending on who you ask. So that's another thing that I recommend getting, is some of those adapters. If you do have somebody using their own headphones because they want to use their own headphones, make sure that you have adapters on hand. I usually put them in a little bag and then just tuck them away inside the case. A lot of times I keep them on my bag that I bring with my camera, because that just makes it much easier for me to have them with me and I don't forget them, because I'll use them in a lot of different situations. Now, one of the nice things about the RODECaster, and one of the reasons that I think it's absolutely a fun solution for podcasting, is the different pads here that you're able to program with different music and sound effects. Now, I have a subscription to ARTLIST, which is a royalty-free music website that you can go and download music from. You just pay one flat rate. You can download as much music as you want, and you get that license so that you can use that in your podcast. So I have the bottom left one programmed. It's the opening music, and then I can fade that out. I have the one next to that is kind of the ending music to the podcast. I have a couple of pads programmed in between here, just with some sound effects or some different things that maybe will help me go and transition into like the commercial or the sponsor of the podcast and then back out. And so I program those, but I get all that music and stuff from ARTLIST, and I'll make sure to link to that down below. ARTLIST is absolutely fantastic. Now, the RODECaster does record to a microSD card that you slip into the back. I do, however, recommend that you carry an extra microSD card with you. Just like for my cameras, I'm always bringing extra SD cards just in case I have a failure, I have a problem with one, or I lose one. You want to make sure that you have an extra SD card for your RODECaster, a microSD card. So I'll make sure to link to the ones that I use down below for you to check out. But pretty much any micro SD card that you can buy this day is going to be fast enough to write audio. I mean, this isn't writing large monstrosity of files like maybe a GoPro or something like that is, or a drone. So you don't have to really worry about that. Another thing that I always bring with me too is this cable here. It's a USB-C cable, so I could plug this into my laptop. If I want to change out the sound effects, here, it's much easier to do that if I'm connected to my laptop. If I want to use my laptop as an audio source, perhaps maybe I'm Skyping with somebody or we're Skyping somebody in, using this as an audio source or using my laptop as an audio source and connecting it to the RODECaster means I could bring their audio right into the feed, adjust their audio levels and everything right there. And so I make sure that I have that USB-C cable, because the RODECaster has USB-C in the back, and then most computers are either going to have USB-A or USB-C. And so usually I'm on maybe my Windows computer when I'm recording audio, and so that one has USB-A, so that cable works for me. But I'll make sure to link to a couple of USB-A to USB-C and USB-C to USB-C cables below, because if you're on like a newer Mac, you're going to need that USB-C to USB-C. And then, of course, an extension cord. I didn't bring that in for filming here. An extension cord, I think, is an absolute must, because the cord that comes with the RODECaster is only so long. You're not going to have likely a power outlet right next to where you want to go. And so if you bring your own extension cord, you're not going to be running around and looking for a solution when the power outlet is further away than you want to be from where you're going to be recording. So I highly recommend bringing an extension cord. It doesn't have to be a very thick, heavy-duty extension cord, because the RODECaster does not pull much power. So you can go with a small, compact one that's long, but it's just a smaller wire thickness. You don't have to worry about getting some super thick, high-end cable unless you're going to be running other stuff from it too. For example, putting a splitter at the end of that and powering your laptop and the RODECaster and maybe some speakers or something like that. You really want to make sure that you're careful with how much stuff you connect. But if you're just doing the RODECaster and maybe your laptop, you can get away with a really small, light extension cord. So if you were recording in a studio, there are a couple things that I think are pretty important. So these are kind of bonus items if you're in a studio. Now, I'm recording in my home right now. I just recently moved out of a studio, and I'm going to be doing a lot of recording as we travel this summer in our travel trailer, and whenever we meet people and stuff. We'll probably be doing some podcast episodes for another project of mine, and then I'm going to be meeting up with some friends, and we'll be doing some podcasting. And so you want to make sure that you have enough going on in a room to sound deaden, and so that way when people are talking, their voices aren't bouncing all off the walls. Now in my studio, I used sound deadening panels. I'll make sure to link down below to the panels that I used, but also to the video that was kind of like a walkthrough before I tore down my studio, because I explained a lot more about what those sound deadening panels do and kind of explained why I chose the ones that I did. So you can use sound deadening panels, but you can also get like just thick black felt fabric. Now, I guess it doesn't have to be black. The reason that I chose black fabric is because I can drape it up and it actually looks like a background. Black absorbs a lot of light, so it looks darker. It doesn't look kind of weird. And the felt is a thicker material and it absorbs the sound. And so you can actually just get a big sheet of felt and then just hang it, and like felt fabric, because you could fold that up and you could just hang it up or wrap it around something and then put it right around the people that are going to be talking in the podcast, and that will absorb a bunch of sound and make it a lot easier for your audio cleanup later, so you're not going to have all that echoey, reverberating sounds as the audio bounces around the room. So depending on what you're actually doing, if you're filming at all, you're going to need some sort of a lighting situation as well. And having a compact light, something that can pack up really small, is important, but then expands into a large light. I'm actually using my large light right now. It's an LED panel, and it's a panel that's actually flexible, and so you can roll it up like a sheet or something like that and put it in a case. I typically take it with me whenever I'm flying. I need to go and have a light somewhere and I don't want to bring a bunch of equipment. I used to rent stuff, but I don't necessarily have to do that anymore because the equipment rolls up just like I'm rolling up a towel or something like that, and I could put it right in my suitcase. So if you are doing any sort of filming as well, when you maybe do your podcast, definitely look into getting a light. Now, the last thing I'd recommend if you have a little bit more of like a studio setup is a Rode boom arm for your microphones. Now, I showed you the little stands that I keep with me for when I travel or I have to take my stuff somewhere. That's why I use this case and have this setup right here. But if I have a more fixed area like a studio, or I want a little bit more of a relaxed area, the boom arm is nice because you can adjust the microphone and pull it closer or push it away from you. Whereas with the little stand, you have to be like right all up in the microphone, and you can't really like hand hold it or whatever. You're going to introduce a lot of noise and stuff into the microphone. And so if you have the Rode boom arm, somebody could sit back in their chair and relax and have the microphone up in their face and be a little bit more comfortable when they're recording. So that's definitely something that I would recommend investing in. And those boom arms, I've had 2 of them for ages, and they're not one bit less strong than they were the day that I bought them. They're absolutely fantastic. So that's going to do it for this video of the things that I think you need if you have a RODECaster. Obviously, the RODECaster is a lot of fun. It's a great addition to anybody's studio who is doing podcasts and everything. But if you take your show on the road, maybe you go do interviews somewhere else, you fly anywhere with your equipment, having a case and kind of a dedicated setup like this, I think is an absolute must. And so that's why I'm here talking about it today. So as always, links to everything are down in the description below. I'll also have a write-up and everything over on the State of Tech website, so make sure to check out that link below. If you like this video, make sure to click that subscribe button and hit the bell next to it so you can be notified when I put out new videos. And if you have any questions at all, please ask them down in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for checking out the video, and I hope to see you back in the next one.